Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Robert Davis, and I'm the Deputy Leader of Westminster City Council. And on behalf of the City Council, I wish you a really good morning, and I mean a morning, as everyone gets an extra portion of gratitude for coming here so early this morning. But while the hour may be a little unholy, at least it's called upon in support of a worthy enterprise. And indeed, enterprise is the strong suit of this morning's venue. Our host, one of our co-sponsors of this 2015 Leaders Breakfast, is home to more than 500 entrepreneurs and has generated £5 million additional GVA to the economy since its launch in 2011. And the City Council thanks, therefore, go to Hub Westminster, not just for their generosity in helping provide us with a platform to launch this morning, but in the unique environment they have created to foster inspiration and collaboration in our businesses. Co-founding the Hub 4 years ago remains one of the City Council's foremost success stories, making it all the more apt as a setting to outline what we plan to achieve over the next 3 years. But I'd also like to express our gratitude to our other co-sponsors, Amy and Viola, for their respective and very kind support for this morning's breakfast. As ever, we are wholly appreciative of our partners, without whom we could not be as effective as we are in delivering for our residents. That kind of affiliation is even more important to us as a local authority in the changing landscape we have experienced and will continue to experience. For, as the leader will outline shortly in our City for All vision, we have to be ready to both protect and enhance the Westminster's character in an ever-changing world. That constant progression, of course, includes harnessing of new technology, which is why I'm very pleased to announce that this morning's Leaders Breakfast is being live streamed on our website for the first time. Hello. I am sure you will all be impressed by this new digital accessibility, and even more delighted when you realise you could have heard our remarks tucked up in bed instead of being here so early. Mindful of which, I'll get on with introducing the rest of our proceedings. Yesterday evening, the leader introduced to the council chamber and to the members of the City Council her vision for maximising Westminster's standing as a city for all, building on the foundations of aspiration, choice and heritage. This new programme represents our commitment to ensuring everybody contributes to and benefits from the city's continued success. And it is that message that Councillor Rowe will set out to you this morning. We will also hear from 3 voices from 3 very different spheres of Westminster. Tom Harvey of the Soho Create Festival will give his experience of aspiration in the city. Volunteer Charlotte de Wilde will describe how the choices we make can contribute to the city. And Alison Nimmo, CBE, will give the benefit of her view on our City of Heritage. But before all of that, I'm now delighted to introduce the leader of Westminster City Council, Councillor Philippa Rowe. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I'm delighted to see so many of you here this morning, representatives from across the City of Westminster, our business community, our amenity societies, our charity and voluntary organisations, our partners from the public and private sector, and of course, our residents. I'm delighted that you are all here because the City for All programme that we are launching today outlines this council's vision for a city of unrivalled choice and aspiration, where the connections amongst residents, businesses and visitors are strengthened as everyone plays their part in the benefits of Westminster's success. It is a vision that spans the breadth of this council's activity, from children's services to transport, from public health to economic development. And of course, across the range of that activity, the financial backdrop we face in local government remains challenging. This council has saved £100 million from its budget over the past 3 years, and there is a further £100 million to find by 2018. Yet during this period, Westminster has been able not only to protect frontline services, but to improve them. That is not just according to me, but it is what you say, our residents have told us, with the council achieving its highest ever satisfaction rating this year at a remarkable 87%. And I stand before all of you today more confident than ever that we will meet the future challenges we face head on. At the heart of everything we do is our unswerving commitment to upholding the values and priorities that you hold most dear: clean streets, high-quality services, help for those that need it most, making it easy for people to do business with us, and creating opportunities for all. And nowhere is our commitment to residents more clearly shown than our record of low council tax, our continued commitment to help residents make their money go further. And I'm delighted that this year we will see the 8th consecutive freeze in council tax. As long as I am leader of this city, you, the residents and businesses of Westminster, have my word that this council will not take a pound more than we need, and we will spend every penny wisely. The nature and scale of the challenge that we face remains daunting. As a council, we cannot afford to stand still. We cannot continue to do things the way they have always been done. Westminster is a byword for innovative thinking, and we will do everything we can to make sure that our residents and frontline services come first. For example, the council is redeveloping several of its own assets to provide new housing, community facilities, and commercial property held for investment. The end value of this development pipeline places the council on a par with the top 5 developers in central London. This investment will generate £25 million to support housing provision and the services that matter most to our communities. And when it comes to that investment, this council's track record speaks for itself. Under the Better City, Better Lives programme, we have created a more enterprising city, helping hundreds of residents into sustainable employment each year and creating a skills-ready workforce through the Employment Passport for Children. We have created a more connected city where local communities have been directly involved in transforming their areas through the Housing Renewal programme. And we have created a safer and healthier city, turning around more than 500 troubled families and halving the time that a child in care has to wait to find a new home, dramatically improving their chances of successful adoption. This year alone, we have secured £4 million of government funding to transform our children's social work service and reduce the number of looked-after children by 20% to providing families with intensive personalised support. We continue to buck the trend in central London by remaining on course to exceed the Mayor's housing targets, bringing our total of affordable homes delivered in the past 5 years to 950. And of course, car drivers in the West End this year became among the first in the world to be able to access real-time information on their smartphones through the Parkride app, a groundbreaking technology used by this council to save our residents and visitors time and reduce frustration. These and many more decisions that this council takes on a daily basis matter. It matters to our residents that we are investing in new sports facilities and libraries and that you have access to some of the best schools in the country. It matters to our business community that we provide you with the specific tailored support that you need to flourish. And it matters to everyone, whether they are here to live, work, or just visit, that this council is committed to creating a beautiful as well as dynamic city through our public realm and open spaces. But add that to the 1 million visitors the city sees every day, the 43,000 businesses and our £57 billion contribution to the national economy, making Westminster the most important economic and employment area in the UK, and the 220,000 residents living alongside all of this, who rightly demand the very best from their council. And you can see that the decisions we take matter at a local, a national, and often an international level. Westminster can uniquely claim to touch the whole country through its history, its institutions, and its economic and cultural vibrancy. And this council has an unmatched responsibility as a proud and confident custodian of a city that benefits the nation. We will discharge our responsibility as civic leaders, working closely with the full range of community, groups and partners across the city, some of whom are represented here today, for the benefit of all our residents. Because the city draws strength from its broad mix of backgrounds, cultures and faiths. And our new 3-year programme reflects Westminster's status as a city for all. In our most recent city survey, a record 94% of residents said that they were happy with Westminster as a place to live. They are right to be proud of this city. I am proud to count myself as one of its residents. proud to raise my family here, proud of the communities of which we are all part, proud of the diversity that is such a great source of strength, even in the face of extreme provocation and threat, and proud of the opportunities and help that the city provides to everyone, but particularly those that need it most. Underpinning the Council's budgeting and planning for the next 3 years will be 3 priorities under the City for All programme. Ensuring that Westminster is a city of aspiration, where communities can share in the economic prosperity of their city. Creating a city of choice, with opportunities for everyone to contribute and play their part in ensuring Westminster's continued success. And continuing to protect and enhance the unique character of this city of heritage, so that every neighbourhood is a great place to live, work and visit, both now and in the future. Westminster is home to 1 in every 40 jobs in the UK and contributes 15% of London's economy and 3% of the economy of the entire country. The city's economy is on a par or bigger than 9 European countries, including Croatia and Bulgaria. The breadth of business within the city is staggering. We are home to 6 Global 500 company headquarters, yet 85% of our businesses employ fewer than 10 people. The city is home to the world's centres for bespoke tailoring, fine art and antiques, as well as thriving sectors in higher education, medicine, retail and tech industries. Creative firms in Soho alone average 2 Oscars every year. 7,000 startups are launched here every year, and our hosts this morning here at the Impact Hub act as a testament to the support that this council is proud to provide to the city's entrepreneurs and early-stage businesses. But it is important that the benefits of our unique city of aspiration are felt by all of our residents. This year, we will implement the radical new Working Capital Employment Scheme, using our share of £11 million of funding leveraged through Westminster's leadership on employment issues across central London. The scheme will target nearly 4,000 people in central London who have been out of work for long periods of time, in many instances due to problems with their mental or physical health. The scheme marks a significant shift in how employment services for the long-term unemployed are designed, delivered, and forms part of our commitment to work with our partners to reduce by 1/3 Westminster's 10,000 long-term unemployed. Under this council, no one will be left behind. Furthermore, I guarantee that through our contracts, we will enshrine a commitment that our suppliers will create employment opportunities for residents and business opportunities for local firms, bringing about a step change in the contribution that we are asking our employers to make to equip people with the skills for the future. I'm delighted to announce that we will provide 90 apprenticeships for young people working in partnership with UK Power Networks. And we have also secured agreement from BT to provide 100 young people with traineeships and 60 residents over the age of 18 with work placements. We will continue to promote Westminster to the world as a global destination of choice for business. We will extend the enormously successful Soho Create Festival, which we co-founded last year with Tom Harvey, to celebrate and share the enormous contribution of the city's creative industries. And I'm delighted that we will be hearing more from Tom later this morning. Our commitment to Soho Create will form part of a package of £2 million of investments for local businesses next year, the City Council acting as an enabler rather than a subsidiser of economic prosperity. Aspiration will mean different things to different people. For many people, it will be that moment of getting their first step on the property ladder. We remain committed to ensuring that this is a realistic aspiration for many of our residents as possible. Later this year, we will launch this council's housing strategy, which will provide more detail on how we will do this. But I'm delighted that in 2015, it will be the year that the foundations will be laid for 350 new homes in Church Street and Ebury Bridge, as part of our ongoing £60 million investment in the city's renewal programme. Also this year, we will launch a scheme to help hard-working individuals and families on middle income take their first step towards home ownership in Westminster. This will not be a handout windfall to a lucky few, but a sustainable hand-up allowing access at market rate but through bite-sized chunks, while also increasing the city's much-needed intermediate housing supply. Our City of Aspiration will also target the ambitions of our young people, whether through education or formal training. To them, my message is this: there has never been more opportunity and support on offer to you to give you the best possible start in life. We will do all that we can to make Westminster somewhere where you can aspire to live, to train and to work. To that end, I'm delighted and proud that we will open the city's first university technical college, which will teach and train and inspire the inventors and engineers of tomorrow by providing state-of-the-art machinery and facilities for 550 students a year, training our young people for real jobs with clear career prospects. A fitting testament to this council's commitment to create a city of aspiration where everyone has the opportunity to improve their lives and fulfil their potential. Westminster is an extraordinary city of choice in a time where people are accustomed to using technology to allow them to do things on the move and at any time of day. As a council, we have been at the forefront of proactively adapting to meet the challenges of the online age, and we continue to ensure that whenever it makes sense, everything we do will be digital. This year, we will transform our approach to community engagement, making it easier than ever for people to do business with Westminster on their terms. We recognise for the vast majority of the time, people may not want to be bothered by their council, but there are times when you, our residents, businesses and partners, will want and expect to be able to speak with us, and we will take a pragmatic and progressive approach to listening to and engaging with you. We will make sure that you only need to tell us something once, that you can do so when and how you want, and that we are transparent in telling you what has happened as a result. Perceptions and expectations of how decisions are taken and by whom are changing. The independence referendum in Scotland sparked a debate across the UK about how lines of power and responsibility should be drawn. In London, Westminster is leading on ensuring that the needs of local residents and businesses are at the heart of discussions around the devolution or delegations of powers and responsibilities. But we would expect others to show the same leadership and sense of responsibility for their future and the future of this city. We know that Westminster's residents are willing to do so. You only have to look at the record number of neighbourhood forum applications to see that. And we will harness that energy, ensuring that everyone is able to play their part and have their voice heard. Westminster sometimes finds itself the victim of one-size-fits-all policy-making from central government, failing to reflect the city's unique position. However, just as we continue to press our cause, we must also avoid falling into the same trap ourselves. Our services must be flexible and able to adapt to the people and communities we are here to help. Our new Community Independence Service will provide tailored help to allow people to regain confidence, maintain their independence, and stay where they want to be most, in their own homes. For families that need our help, we will make it simple and easy for them to get it at the right time, in the right way. Avoided crisis becoming overwhelming, keeping families together, and making sure that as few children as possible are taken into care. In the longer term, this will mean that fewer families will need the intensive support provided by Family Recovery. And we are absolutely determined to continue to work shoulder to shoulder with our partners to help vulnerable residents by tackling head-on the serious issues of violence and extremism. We will support activities to promote community cohesion and translate the government's national counter-terrorist strategy into the local context in Westminster, working closely with the police, the Home Office, our educational institutions and our faith groups. Choice is about more than what type of service to receive and how to receive them. It is about people choosing to make a difference, whether to their own lives or the lives of their neighbours. And I'm delighted to announce that we will invest more than £1 million this year to help children and families in Westminster eat well and stay active, making the right choices to tackle head-on the issue of childhood obesity that affects far too many of our young people. We will encourage our residents to contribute more to the civic health of their communities. We will make 50,000 time credits available over the next 3 years to those who help their neighbours and neighbourhoods through voluntary activity. Credits that can be used on a variety of things, from theatre trips to sporting activity. It is not for us as politicians to tell people how to lead their lives, but we can and we will provide them with the support to make informed choices. We will help those to help themselves and others. Our City for All is a living and breathing entity, and our responsibility as custodians does not stop with its residents, businesses and visitors. We must ensure that the fabric and character of Westminster are maintained and enhanced for this and future generations. The city's iconic buildings and institutions are just one part of its rich heritage. We must, of course, continue to maintain them on behalf of the nation, which is no mean feat, with 75% of the city designated as a conservation area and with more than 11,000 listed buildings and structures. But this city is famous for its vibrant and diverse neighbourhoods, a unique connection of interconnected villages, each with a history and character of its own. And we will continue to work with partners from the public and private sector to protect the very essence of what makes this city great. Where that is threatened through antisocial behaviour or irresponsible practices, we will hit back through our revolutionary new city inspectors, the Council's new frontline response to tackling problems as they arise on the street, helping to maintain our cohesive communities. Where that is threatened through legislative change, we will act. Indeed, in the absence of clarity from central government, I am pleased to announce that we will be bringing forward our own policy to limit office to residential conversion, which will come into force from September this year. The last 4 years have seen the city lose 167,000 square metres of office space, 75% of which has been to residential uses. We cannot continue accepting this trend and keep Westminster's place as the engine room of the economy. That is why we will implement our new approach to halt the damaging loss of office space to residential conversion currently seen in Westminster. The city's green spaces, our history of tolerance and inclusion, the surprises and variety that can be found around every corner, all these go to make the unique character of Westminster. Parks and green space make up to 24% of our city, and the City Council will launch this year its 10-year Green City Plan, which will set out our commitment to ensuring the future sustainability and well-being of our city. As part of that plan, we will deliver a zero-carbon development in the city by 2017 and will work with property developers to achieve lower energy consumption levels across all developments. Working with Transport for London, we will also deliver a successful ultra-low emission zone by 2020. But it is not just in our parks and green spaces that people are able to seek solace in the bustling heart of the nation's capital. We will continue to create great local places for people to enjoy living, working and visiting. Central to that will be our further £7 million of investment in public realm, walking, cycling and road safety schemes across the city over the next 2 years. The decisions that we take in the management of the infrastructure of this city have far-reaching consequences, nationally as well as locally. This is perhaps no more so than in the West End, where Crossrail is estimated to bring some 300,000 people into the heart of our city every day. Through my chairmanship of the West End Partnership, which brings together all our partnership partners across the West End, we will launch next month a once-in-a-generation delivery plan, focusing on hundreds of millions of pounds of investment to secure the future of one of the most vibrant and exciting places on the planet for future generations to come. And we will keep the city moving in this face of unprecedented challenge, as well as, of course, maintaining the clean streets that have become the city's trademark and which our residents value so highly. Our role as guardians of the city's heritage is marked by our civic role at the centre of the national commemorations and celebrations. We take great pride in carrying out this duty on behalf of the country during those times when the nation's focus falls on Westminster, the city for all. Last August was one such moment, when the iconic Piccadilly lights were transformed to reveal a roll of honour commemorating the 2,000 residents of the city who lost their lives in the First World War. And we will continue this year to remember the centenary of World War I through a programme of community activity and events. 2015 will also mark the 50th anniversary of the creation of our city in its current form, and Westminster will play a part in those celebrations, hosting a service at Westminster Abbey and a number of other local events. As you can see, there is no limit to this council's ambition to ensure that the full benefits of living in the world's greatest city are enjoyed by all. The record of achievement that I have presented today serves as our credentials in setting our sights so high. To meet the rising expectations of our residents, we must, of course, raise our own, and this intention is clearly set out in our programme. We will nurture aspiration in whatever form it takes to ensure that it can be realised by all. Everyone in Westminster will have the tools to grasp the choice that is available to all. And we will protect and enhance the city's unique heritage and culture for all. We will devote all our efforts to ensuring that Westminster is truly a great city for all.
Thank you, Philippa. To put some further flesh on the bones of the City for All vision, as I mentioned, we will now hear from 3 external figures to give their personal experience and ideas for our City for All. Firstly, to talk on realising a city of aspiration, Tom Harvey of the Soho Create Festival will come and say a few words. Now, Tom is the chief executive of Soho Create, which was co-founded with the City Council to advocate and showcase the best that Soho has to offer in its unique industries. The inaugural festival was held last year between the 4th and 6th of June and proved to be a runaway success. Over 800 people attended to engage with 62 leading creative industry figures across 28 venues. So, please welcome Tom Harvey to give his expert view on the role of creativity in contributing to Westminster's growth and aspiration. Tom.
Thank you very much. Expert view, that was a fatal introduction, isn't it? We actually began here, by the way, 3 years ago, sitting out there in the Hub Westminster. So a huge thank you to Westminster and to the Hub for all the incredible entrepreneurial support they've given Soho Create in becoming what it is. But I want briefly to go back 350 years to the Huguenots, because when we're looking at the creativity of Westminster, actually we've got them to thank. A lot of them set up in places like Soho Square, and they were the early tinsmiths, silversmiths, tailors, craftspeople that actually began the creative industries that we see now 350 years later. And those creative industries here in Westminster are absolutely phenomenal. As we heard earlier, an average of 2 Oscars every year, one in that Soho cluster, and this year it was double negative with Interstellar. There's 46,000 creative industry workers in that Soho cluster. Those are architects, film and television practitioners, actors, theatre people, 46,000 creative workers. That's a quarter of the entire workforce of the Soho cluster works in the creative sector. They turn over £7.5 billion every year. Now that, interestingly, is 11% of the UK's entire creative industry turnover, all in that Soho cluster. That really does make Soho the most creative square mile in the entire world. And there's all sorts of wonderful cluster advantages that come with that proximity. There's a porousness about ideas. There's a sort of evolution of creative ideas that happens phenomenally quickly. The skill levels can be incredibly high because we've brought all of that creativity together in one place. So the cluster advantages of that Soho cluster are extraordinary. Now, Westminster as a whole holds 20% of the UK's entire creative industry turnover. That's a massive economic advantage, and it's a massive creative advantage. And I think being creative and having a creative city like Westminster is fantastically important. We need to brand ourselves as that creative city and embrace all that that means. One of the important things it means is that we can bring up our children with permission to be creative, so they grow up able to express themselves, to have new ideas and to think differently. That's a very important part of a creative city. Without that, we don't just not have artists. We don't have physicists or mathematicians or engineers. So bringing up our children to have permission to be creative in the city is important. And I'm very pleased to say that this year we've started Young Creatives for Soho Create. That's sponsored by Shaftesbury plc. And that will be doing its best to make sure we're doing everything we can to give our children permission to be creative in Westminster. It also means we're very good at having ideas. We're good at starting with a blank page and creating wonderful works of art, books, buildings, advertisements, films, plays, and musicals. And that ability to start from nothing and not be afraid of the journey you're about to go on and to create something new and wonderful is what being creative is all about. This is also a phenomenal city to take part in creativity. World-class galleries, theatres and cinemas means we can connect with the experience of others, and we can experience other versions of the world that are completely different to our own. That's an extraordinary privilege and advantage. So creativity is important. And I'm extremely proud to say that Soho Create, the project that we started with Westminster Council, is proving successful. We want to build a huge creative festival for London, and we're very, very ambitious about that. We want to build the biggest creative festival in the world, in the most creative city in the world. What that festival is about is creative people talking about what they do and how and why they do it. It's not a festival where people sell their latest book or film. It's a festival where people talk about the creative process, about the journeys they go on, and what creativity means to them. When we started, so we had 800 people through the festival. Every single person's been phenomenally positive about it. The local companies in Soho have got behind us. We're also starting a Soho Create magazine to champion all of the creative things that are happening in that most creative of square miles. And this year will be twice as big, at least, as the first year. And we hope in a few years' time we're going to have beautiful pavilions in Leicester Square, in Soho Square, and in Golden Square, all celebrating creativity. There'll be tens of thousands of people coming from all over the world to Westminster to talk about creativity and to celebrate that with us. So it's the creativity of this city that really, really excites me. There's profound creative potential here, and that's a very real strength. So we're very much looking forward to working with Westminster to build Soho Create and grow the creative sector here and make sure we're bringing the world in to see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Amazing stuff you're doing. Next to the stage will be Charlotte de Wilde, who will be speaking about why she chose to volunteer in the city. Charlotte works in Westminster and has joined one of the City Council's volunteer programmes called Good Gym. The Good Gym scheme helps our residents connect through befriending, community cleanups and gardening, while keeping volunteers active as they run to and from their placements, which in itself deserves great recognition. I'm not sure about you, but following that much exercise, I would not be in the mood to befriend anyone. And so, full of admiration, I welcome Charlotte to talk about her role and why she chose to fulfil it in Westminster. Charlotte.
Thank you very much. So I volunteer as part of Good Gym in Westminster, and I literally work down the road, and I was always kind of passionate about exercise and helping other people. I already did bits and pieces of volunteering through schemes that my work organised, and somebody recommended Good Gym to me. And we basically go about doing all the things that maybe the local community projects don't have time to do, or they don't have the capacity to do it. So we do projects weekly, so we meet up in a group, and then we all run probably about 2.5K, and then we kind of run to all projects all over Westminster, and we go and help people out with what they need help with. So last night we ran to the other side of Victoria, and we went and helped a local community doing some gardening and tidying outside. So we kind of all chip in and we work on the task for 45 minutes, and then we all run back. So you get the best of both worlds. You're helping and you're also exercising at the same time, which is a bonus for me. So I think the important thing about Good Gym, kind of why I volunteer in Westminster, I think I want to feel as though I'm doing something for the community that I work in. And it's great because the projects that we are working for, we go back to them quite frequently as well. We work with a local community radio station, and we can kind of see the projects develop over time, and we create a relationship with the people that are there. So when they come back, they know it's kind of, we're coming to work on the task, and then they can see things developing and see things getting better. And I think it's so important in Westminster as well, because I feel as though I want to see things happening in the community that I'm working in as well. And a lot of the people that I run with, we get people, we kind of get regular people coming, and we get some people that just come in for one session, and then they'll go, okay, I'll go and volunteer at that local project, a project that we went to a couple of weeks ago. I've now put my name down to go and help out on Saturdays, and it's because I've built that connection with them through what I've been doing and through what Good Gym have helped us do at the same time. So it's providing those opportunities for us so that we can then help other people at the same time. I also think it's a great way to meet a really wide range of people as well. I think it's a selection of people that are all on the same page, which I think is so important that you don't necessarily get in your everyday life. So Good Gym is everyone's on the same page. Everyone wants to do a bit of exercise and then go and help a project at the same time. And I think it's brilliant, and I think it's definitely in my local community, which I feel as though Westminster is, it's really making a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. I'm afraid I won't be joining. I'm not a great runner. I like driving. Our final guest speaker this morning is my good friend Alison Nimmo, CBE, Chief Executive of the Crown Estate. Through the estate's groundbreaking 20-year Regent Street regeneration programme, Alison certainly knows a thing or two about history, and so we've asked her to come and talk to us on the importance of Westminster's heritage. Now, some of you may also know that Alison is part of the City Council's own legacy, having started out her career in our planning department. But I promised I wouldn't tell you how long ago it was. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Alison to say a few words. Alison.
Thank you, Robert, and almost the same age as the City Council as well. So, well, thank you, Robert. It's great to be here this morning among so many friends and to help support and launch this fantastic new city vision. Heritage, City of Heritage. Well, Winston Churchill famously said, "We shape our buildings and thereafter they shape us." And he was right. And the leader talked about the conservation areas, the 11,000 listed buildings here in Westminster. And we all experience this incredible legacy each and every day. Whether it's in the streets and the parks, whether it's the buildings we work in, whether it's the theatres and restaurants that we all play in. And it not only reminds us of the remarkable history and the people that have gone before us, but as Tom said, it's a fundamental driver of the attractiveness of the city and the economic competitiveness of London and the West End. The Crown Estate owns around 8 million square feet of prime real estate here in the West End, including most of Regent Street, half of St James's, and 3 in every 4 of the buildings we own is listed. I have to say, including this one. Over many years, we've developed a long and genuine partnership with the City Council, delivering really what is an incredibly ambitious vision, as Robert said, for this part of the West End, and heritage has been right at the very heart of that vision. London's status as a successful world city brings with it many opportunities, but also many challenges. And we know how much new investment is needed in the city fabric, its buildings, its utilities, its transport, to keep it up to date and to keep it right at the top of its game. The Crown Estate has a clear commercial mandate. We send all our money, all our profits back to Treasury every year. We're one of the few businesses here that pays 100% tax, you could say. But we also see that bigger picture, being a responsible landowner, investor and partner, and creating lasting value over the long term. And we call this conscious commercialism. The leader, Councillor Davis, Lord Mayor, the colleagues, councillors, and of course those very hard-working City Council officers, and I can say that, as Robert said, I used to be one, have been enormously generous with their time and support. And with their assistance and the 2 bids here in Westminster, the GLA Transport for London, English Heritage, and many of you here in this room, I think we've shown already, but that if we work together, we can preserve what's really best about this city, its unique heritage, but also delivering that important modernisation and investment necessary for the West End to continue to lead the world. I'd like to just touch on 3 things that we've been doing and that we will continue to do to contribute to this fantastic strategy. The first is about the city fabric. If you walk down Regent Street, Piccadilly, St James's, hopefully as you came here this morning, you begin to get a real sense of the scale of change that's happening in the city. We're investing over £1.5 billion, transforming what in truth had become quite outdated, quite shabby heritage buildings into a series of world-class offices, flagship shops and restaurants. And each project is really tricky balance between that heritage, really good quality new architecture, and of course delivering some of the most sustainable buildings in Europe. But heritage is also about the spaces in between the buildings, and we're passionate, as many of you know, about placemaking, and we've invested over £25 million in our public realm, wonderful new public art and lighting. And I encourage any of you to walk down Regent Street at night. It is just as fantastic at night as during the day. The only problem is the shops are shut. So that's the city fabric. The second one is about attracting a mix of businesses, and the leader talked about that engine of growth. The overriding reason for new buildings is, of course, to create modern floor plates and attract and retain the best businesses here in Westminster. These days, we're not just competing with the city, but other major capital cities, and we've brought a number of European headquarters to the West End. Great names, Twitter, Ares, Virgin Money. These people, these businesses want the best buildings in the best locations because that allows them to keep hold of and attract the best talent. And of course, when it comes to retail, we're creating, and David Shaw is an incredible force with James Cooksey to create incredible space to attract global fashion leaders, new names, and offering something that can't be matched anywhere else. So in the last year, we've brought names like J. Crew out of America, Watches of Switzerland, and La Martina. Very important in that creating a city of choice. And of course, the third is all about people. They are the real lifeblood of Westminster. Over 20,000 people work on Regent Street, and we welcome over 7.5 million international visitors every year. Our Summer Streets initiative, which I know many of you enjoy, close the street to traffic every Sunday in July. And where else can you experience vintage car rally one weekend, and then a few weekends later, an American football block party. I mean, it's incredible to see everyone in Westminster coming together, and even Robert Davis doing a fashion catwalk down the street. On A City for All and Aspiration, we're very proud of what we've done over the past 3 years with partners on our Recruit West End programme, bringing young unemployed people into really good permanent employment in shops and restaurants in the West End, and we were looking to do more of that. Robert, you've clocked up many a topping out ceremony for us as the linchpin of all things planning here in Westminster, and our goal, I've been told, is to keep you very busy for many years to come. So City for All, we think, is a really powerful new vision. We welcome the clear recognition and economic importance of our heritage here. We welcome the need to encourage investment and growth, and we welcome the commitment to help deliver high-quality developments which create fantastic places for everybody. It's an approach that we're absolutely committed to. The Crown Estate will continue to play its role supporting it, and we're delighted to share that commitment with you here this morning, with the City Council and with all of our partners and neighbours from Westminster. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alison. And my thanks on behalf of the Council to all our guest speakers for giving their own unique perspective on fostering aspiration, choice and heritage. Now, the leader is now going to be available to answer questions from you, our guests today. So, Philip would like to join me. Anyone would like to ask her about our new City for All programme? David Hogarth. David, like when you have a speaker coming over with a microphone, can you tell everybody else who you are? I know it, but everybody else may not.
I'm David Hogarth. I'm Westminster Older People's Action. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the very long and undoubted chapter of successes that you've been talking about today, the leader. I'm going back to the leader's speech. And I'm not at all surprised that the satisfaction survey is so good. But forgive me if I missed something, but I didn't hear much about successes in the field of social care and particularly dealing with older people. And I wonder also how many of the respondents to the survey lived in Westminster's care homes. Now, I mean, there is, or you will in the future, have a great success because you are replacing, I think, a lot of your care homes with new state-of-the-art care homes instead of them. And I would like to ask you if you would consider putting in oral, overt surveillance in these new care homes, because the Care Quality Commission has more or less endorsed this recently, and this would make sure that the care that everybody gets in these care homes is really good. It would deter bad care, but even more so, it would pick up on all the people who are silently and unrecognised, doing an unrecognised job, an excellent job in these care homes, and nobody knows about it at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to start by picking up your point that I didn't make much reference to social care and adults and with vulnerable adults in my speech. The City Council covers such a broad gamut of things, and I could have spoken for another hour, and I'm sure everybody wouldn't have wanted that. But we are doing an awful lot for our vulnerable adults. As you well know, we've got we're the only council whose Better Care Fund agreement went through unchallenged by central government. This is money that we've bid for to actually integrate health services with adult social care, with a view to reducing the number of times that people have to go into hospital, and if they go into hospital, reduce the amount of time that they have to stay there, because obviously, as we all know, people would much rather be in their own homes with the right support. And it's part of transforming sort of health delivery to vulnerable adults, which would have the benefit of saving money, but actually in many ways that's sort of tangential to it. The real benefit is actually the quality of service that we're going to be able to offer vulnerable people, and that is actually transformational. We're also reletting our care contracts at the moment, which will hopefully, we've got pretty good standards now because we've gone through all our care contracts recently, but we're reletting it, and that will increase standards as well. As you mentioned, we are developing our supported care homes, changing the model that we have to sort of meet people's changing needs over time. So instead of somebody going into one sort of care home when they start to get a bit vulnerable and then having to move again when their needs get greater, we're trying to find a sort of flexible environment where people can move in and then stay there for the rest of their lives, which I think is very important. When it comes to surveillance cameras, I mean, this is something that I think we need to keep talking about. I'm not minded at the moment to mandate it because we're changing so much, and we've got so many checks and balances in there to try and make sure that the care standards that we are reaching are absolutely the highest. But it's something that we need to keep an open dialogue on and monitor it. I mean, there are positives that people talk about, the fact that silent people who are being abused, which hopefully doesn't happen in our homes, get picked up. But there are also sort of privacy issues and people feeling uncomfortable about constant surveillance. So I think there are pros and cons on both. It's quite an early field. We'll watch what other people do. We are building our new care homes now, so we've got time to decide how we take this forward. But I think it's open at the moment.
Thank you. Who's going to ask the next question? I'm sure there's a gentleman over there. So.
Anders Boquist from St John's Wood. I wonder if you might say a little bit more about the role of local libraries in creating community within the city and how that role gets developed at a time of extraordinary pressure on council budgets.
We view our libraries as incredibly valuable resources, and actually we in Westminster are probably one of the very few authorities that are actually building new libraries as opposed to closing. I think most of the local authorities, particularly our neighbours in certain areas, have actually been closing their libraries, whereas, as I just said, we're investing £12 million in a new library, and we're refurbishing other libraries. I think they're absolutely vital, and in fact what I think we'll have to see is a slightly changing role of libraries as they become more community hubs. I mean, people are accessing information differently now with all technology changes, etc. So that they're going to take a book out from the library, that's sort of changing. People still do it, but nothing like in the volumes that they used to. So I think the role of a library as a community hub where people come together for a variety of services and interactions, and whether it's accessing the council services or broader services is, I think, very, very important. And so that's, I think, our longer-term vision as we regenerate our libraries.
Anyone else want to ask a question? Mr. Zammit, can we have a microphone over here? In case anybody doesn't know who you are, tell us who you are.
Yeah, I'm John Zammit, Chairman of the South East Bayswater. So thank you for inviting me. I've heard the speech before. I was at City Main Council meeting last night in the public gallery, along with 4 other people. which was disappointing that more people from the ordinary world don't hear what you say. I think we should publicise that more. I've got a couple of questions, but before I do, I'd like to take the opportunity of thanking Councillor Ed Argar for the wonderful work he did and wish him luck in his future career. I hope he learnt a lot from Westminster. Maybe he'll become Ministry of Transport one day, Minister of Transport, Secretary of State. And welcome Richard Beddoes taking up the role. He'll do a great job, I'm sure. And I personally like to thank Leith Penny, who's retiring after 28 years. He's here somewhere, for the wonderful work he did running the environment, and to welcome Stuart Love. So I've got a couple of questions. I was pleased to hear last night, but everyone here doesn't know, what your policy is going to be on trying to stop offices becoming flats, which could be very damaging for the city and the West End in particular. And also, following on Lindsay Hall's promise in her election leaflet to deal with basement developments by the end of the year, I'd like to know about that. And my old chestnut is, for 2 years, I've been complaining ferociously about the lack of increase in parking charges, which haven't gone up since 2009, and you can still park for half price in certain parts of the city. And we need that money to improve the infrastructure, because our streets, despite your investment, are in very poor condition. And to get a zebra crossing painted or a yellow box that's faded is impossible. So the revenue, after you've done your surveys on parking, which you've lost millions over these years, will come in useful. So if I may, I've got 3 bites of the cherry.
Various facets to that I'd like to respond to. Well, for the first time, we're actually streaming my speech, as Councillor Davis has already said, which actually means that hopefully a broader audience will pick up what's being said, because a lot of what we do, as I mentioned in my speech, actually really does matter to everybody. And so I think it is important that people understand what we're doing, but also become more engaged in politics, because if more people understand what we're doing, more people become engaged in politics, maybe they might vote. And I think that's so terribly important. So that's been. I'd also like to echo your thanks and congratulations to both Ed Argar, who's going to become a safe Conservative seat to become a Member of Parliament in May, so that's fantastic, and to Leith retiring after all these years, and great service to Westminster, so that's fantastic. I'll pick up your parking point first. It is actually illegal for us to raise parking charges just simply to raise money. We can only raise parking charges on the basis of managing curb space and congestion. And we are actually, in the moment, doing an occupancy survey. It takes quite a long period of time to do that. And when we get the results of that occupancy survey, we will then make a sort of balanced and measured judgment as to whether it's appropriate to put up charges or not. On your comments about the standard of our streets, actually, our city survey shows that 90% of our residents are actually happy with the standards of our streets. So I do there are hot spots. There are inevitably going to be little places where problems exist, and hopefully we come in quite quickly when alerted and deal with them. But the vast majority of our residents are actually happy with our streets. So just remind me what the other two...
Basements and offices.
Oh, basements and offices. Oh, yes. Well, basements, I'm delighted to be able to say that we'll be introducing our basements policy this year, which will tackle this awful blight on neighbours of people digging down several stories and digging out a long way. We have done a lot of work on it, because it's not an easy policy to have in place, because it could be so easily judicially reviewed and we could lose the challenge. That's extremely expensive for us, because it's permitted development. But what we've got had long consultation on it. We've had a lot of responses, which, if it does ever go to judicial review, will help us in the courts, because the judges will be able to see the blight that it puts on people's lives. And I think it's very reasoned, so we think it will hold up. But we are launching that this year. And I did actually mention in my speech, we're also launching a policy this year to try and stop the office to residential conversion, because you could quite rightly say the economic impact of that could be catastrophic on what is the most important area of the UK for the economy.
Are there more questions? No? Everyone's delighted with the leader speech. Thank you very much. That's, I think, an opportunity to move on. Now, we move on to a section of proceedings which demonstrates the crux of what City for All really represents, giving our residents opportunities to excel and develop in achieving their goals. Nowhere is this better exemplified than in our Apprentice of the Year award. Launched in 2013, the City Council's apprenticeship scheme is delivered in collaboration with the London Apprenticeship Company. Westminster offers a number of apprenticeships to help people of all ages develop talent, develop their practical skills and qualifications they need both now and in the future. And our scheme has been a huge success, with positive feedback received from both apprentices and line managers. So, 12 months ago, the Apprentice of the Year Award was founded in order to highlight the two-way contribution being made by the scheme. And in doing so, it recognises the year's most outstanding apprentice as nominated by their line manager and by their colleagues. I therefore invite the leader to run through our list of nominees and announce the 2015 Westminster City Council Apprentice of the Year. Leader.
The nominations for this year's Westminster Apprentice of the Year are Michael Sissel from Children's Services, Alicia Barrick from Sports and Leisure, Macaulay Cheriton from Legal and Democratic Services, Ellen Morley, a Teaching Assistant Apprentice at Barrow Hill School, and Antoine Young from the Chief Executive's Office.
It's like on the Oscars.
Yes, there we
really.
go.
I'm Tom Cruise.
Right. And the winner is Alicia Barrick from the Westminster Sports Unit. Congratulations. Well done, that's fantastic, and I'll give you that as well. Look at the camera there.
What a fantastic way to bring to a close what I hope has been for you an interesting and worthwhile morning, even though it's so early. That is the formal part of our Leaders' Breakfast over for this year. So I'm now able to release you all to network with other stakeholders that have been joined us today. I have, however, two final duties to dispense with as your compere for the evening.
Morning.
It feels like the evening. I've been here for hours. The first is to offer sincere thanks to all of you on behalf of the leader, myself, and everyone at Westminster Council for coming along to hear the City for All vision. We very much look forward to a continuing dialogue with you and how we can contribute and how we can all together contribute to nurture aspiration, choice and heritage in our great city. And the second is to ask for your feedback. You've all been invited because of your views, your opinions, which are valuable to us. So now comes your chance to let rip. You will shortly receive an email from us with links to all the documents about our new exciting policies, all relating to the City for All programme that we presented to you this morning. And you can provide feedback via Twitter, through our survey, through VoxPox, or if you are more than traditional like me, a good old-fashioned post-it note provided by our team. So, until next year, thank you for coming this morning. Have a good day, and we'll see you next year. Thank you. Well done, Robert.